Welcome to our discussion on listening, the art of receiving, retaining, and processing information.
I'm excited to dive in. It's fascinating how such a simple word, listening, can have so many layers, right?
Absolutely. It's like there's more to it than just hearing words. It's about absorbing the meaning behind them, noticing body language, tone, and even the subtle
Yeah,
cues.
right. And it's pretty interesting how the framework breaks this down into steps from just listening without interruption all the way to critically evaluating perspectives and detecting bias.
Exactly, starting at step zero, where the focus is on not interrupting. And then you progress gradually, first recalling short instructions, then asking questions when something's unclear.
It reminds me of when I used to misinterpret text messages because I wasn't really listening to what was being conveyed. Like I would just skim too fast.
Definitely, and it's a bit like building a muscle, isn't it? You need to train it, do the basics, and then add layers like summarizing, rephrasing, and eventually critically analyzing what you hear.
Right. Speaking of, what do you think about the emphasis on nonverbal cues, such as eye contact and body language? Is that not sometimes overemphasized?
Well, I think it's essential because a lot of information is communicated non-verbally. It's like, having a conversation with someone who speaks fluently in silence. Their expressions, gestures, and posture provide context beyond words.
Yeah, I get that, but sometimes relying too much on nonverbal cues can mislead us if we don't consider context. Wouldn't you agree?
That's a good point. Context is key. It's like you might interpret crossed arms as disinterest, but it could simply be the person's habit. The framework we're looking at actually encourages listening to be paired with questioning, sort of like clarifying what
Mm,
you observe.
exactly. And then there's the progression toward critical listening. It's really taking in ideas and then evaluating them against other perspectives and checking for bias.
Right, moving past just receiving information to actually processing it critically. Like step 10 talks about being aware of how a speaker influences you, and steps 11 to 15 dive into comparing perspectives and identifying potential
Yup,
biases.
and that's crucial, especially in our current era of information overload. We're bombarded with data, and being able to sift through it objectively without falling prey to biases seems more important than ever.
Absolutely, it's almost like training your inner detective. You listen not just to agree, but to really understand the underlying message, sort of like rephrasing what you've heard to see if it all adds up.
Yeah, indeed. How do you think these skills are best taught? Is it mostly through practice, or do you believe there's a structured way to develop them?
From what I gather, it's a mix of both. The idea is to start with simple steps, like listening without interrupting, and gradually build up, almost like a curriculum. It begins with remembering instructions and then evolves into deeper engagement through summarizing and asking open ended questions.
Yeah, that makes sense. And these steps are crafted in such a way that they can be taught incrementally, making it accessible for all learners.
Precisely. And it's also reassuring that the approach accommodates different modes of communication, whether it's hearing or through signing. It's inclusive by design.
Right on. You mentioned something earlier about listening not being entirely built in from home. Could you explain that a bit more?
Sure, while we might think listening is natural because we start learning it at home, the literature suggests that effective listening, especially over extended periods or in complex conversations, doesn't just develop automatically. It needs to be actively nurtured.
Yeah, that's interesting because it challenges a common assumption that good listening is just a byproduct of daily life rather than a skilled art requiring practice and feedback.
Exactly. And it underscores the value of a deliberate skills builder framework. Think of it like learning a musical instrument. At first, you just pluck the strings, but over time, you learn to recognize subtle harmonies and even the interplay with other instruments.
I really like that analogy. It makes the process much more vivid.
Thanks. It's like listening isn't passive at all. It demands engagement from start to finish, from tapping into memory for short instructions to critiquing the underlying influences in language.
Yep. And another thing, what do you think about the role of open questioning in this framework? Is that not sometimes seen as a bit confrontational?
That's a fair challenge, but I think open questioning isn't meant to be confrontational. Rather, it's a way to ensure clarity. It's like saying, hey, just to check, did I catch that right? This not only affirms active listening, but also gently probes for deeper understanding.
Yeah, exactly. That makes a lot of sense. It creates a dialogue rather than a monologue, encouraging both the speaker and the listener to engage more meaningfully.
Right, and it fosters an environment where feedback is natural. You start with simple, non interruptive listening, and then, as you become more comfortable, integrate summarizing, like echoing back what was said to confirm your understanding.
It really showcases that listening is as much about the internal process as it is about interacting externally.
Exactly. And the framework's final steps, where you critically examine bias and evaluate varying perspectives, really round it out by teaching how to be objective. It's almost like a safeguard against misinterpretation and manipulation.
Yeah, true. So, in sum, effective listening is this multi layered skill, from simply not interrupting to engaging in critique. It reminds us that every conversation is a learning opportunity.
Absolutely. It's like a journey of continuous growth. And while it can be challenging to master, every step builds on the previous, enabling deeper connections and smarter, more empathetic communication.
Right on. I love how this framework emphasizes that listening isn't just a passive act, but a dynamic interplay between attitude, skill, and context.
Exactly. And by being deliberate about it, whether we're teachers, parents, or peers, we can all improve our engagement and understanding. It transforms simple interactions into meaningful exchanges that truly connect us.
Yep. Thanks for this engaging discussion. It's made me re examine how I listen in my own life.
Likewise, it's been great unpacking these layers. Remember, folks, effective listening is not just about hearing, it's about truly understanding and engaging.
Absolutely. Here's to more mindful conversations ahead.